Oh, hey y'all, how's it going? Fatty here, and thanks for joining me on part 2 for my Genesis 2 Rat Hole build guide. And let's not waste any more of your time and jump straight into it. So this was the #1 spot in that video. It is by far my favorite spot on Genesis. There were 2 of them just like this. One got patched out. I'm not quite sure one did and why one did and the other one didn't. But when you first come in, you want to figure out exactly where to put your wall. Now it's kind of an open area where there's like 2 little sections. One's like a very small section and then one leads to another little crouch point with like a bigger back section. I always like to put 2 walls that kind of create almost like a T. That way if someone comes in to try to rocket run this first wall, you have this like secondary one to help shoot the rockets or just help take them down a little bit, right? More turrets just means they have a less chance of getting in and getting something off. Also, if you place your first wall, not where this one is that I'm doing currently, but the other wall that looks at the front in the way that I'm doing, it can actually shoot outside that crouch point, making it really almost impossible for anyone to like rocket run it or anything like that. Now, I just wouldn't put any velos or anything like that in this front area as well, just because of the fact that you have like Noglins, and there's a whole bunch of different meta that you have to worry about nowadays with Noglins and how to deal with that. So here, I just wouldn't have any dinosaurs that you can really get to. The only place where I would even recommend having some is in this next little back crouch area. If you build it out kind of like I show you how to do, you're able to breed a couple small things. I was able to uncryo carbs as well as stegos back there, so it does allow for a little bit. So when you're building this wall, I always like to leave, normally I like to leave just a little bit more of a gap instead of just going like right up against each other, kind of like this one. But it's up to you because more turrets equals just better coverage on this one. You don't want them overlapping by any means, but if it doesn't really work out to leave that one like ceiling gap, then just don't. Now, I always find putting things on hatch frames, I know this is kind of like wall building 101, but you guys clicked on the video, so I'm explaining it anyways. You just usually like to put things on the very outside of hatch frames just because they don't get line of sight as easily. They don't clip underneath things like players that are trying to like run underneath them or anything like that. It just has a lot better like range in my opinion. And then from here, you just got to place your turrets. I'm only going to do heavy turrets because, you know, whatever. I usually do a 2-to-1 ratio of heavies to tech turrets, depending on the server, right? If you're on Gen 2 and you have them unlocked, right, you might do 2 tech turrets every 1 heavy. It just kind of depends on your playstyle and what you want to do. Here, having more tech turrets would be better because of the pushback, but you know, you work with what you got, right? And I just didn't take the time to switch between them because it doesn't really matter. But like I said, 2-to-1, so every 2 heavies, I usually put down 1 tech, so I usually do like heavy tech, heavy, sorry, heavy tech, heavy tech, heavy tech. That's usually the method that I go with that, just to space it out to really give that good coverage. Now with these, you don't really, it doesn't matter if you go too high, right? If you go too high, it's not even gonna be able to see it or not get a really good angle. But from here, I think just going up to the 3 is as high as you really need to go. I don't think you really get any benefit from going any further than that when you do this. And then having ground turrets is always important just for those rocket rushers or anything like that. Just having that little ground piece is always good, and then if they actually do destroy structure and stuff starts to drop, you always have a couple extra things to help you out there, which is always nice, right? That's what everyone wants, is that just a little extra support in their life. And turrets, see, and you just don't want to put too many turrets, because if you ground clutter it too much, it's never a good idea. But as you can see, when you crouch out, you can see many of these turrets. So even if you're trying to find an angle, a lot of those turrets are going to be able to kind of peek through and shoot at you. And like I said, it is a true crouch point, so you take a lot of fire just trying to get in there. And that makes that part really, really hard to get to. Now, the only caveat about this one, and I mentioned in my main video as well, is that because this one had a similar one patched out, I don't know how long this one's going to last. I personally, if I was on official right now, wouldn't build here just because of that risk. If you're on like a lead arc or MTS or something like that, where the stakes aren't as tedious to get to where you're going, right, this might be like a perfect option for you just to ride it out, because it is good. I mean, especially if you're on a no-clip server or whatever, you can put quite a bit around here. So as you're seeing, I usually put my crafting area, not my full crafting area, but I usually put a grinder and a forge over here, so when I go to aberration, I can just kind of come back here. Sometimes I just drop off the stone to grind for flint because I'm lazy like that, especially if you're just trying to XP grind in the beginning. And then you just have your forge right there. I play really with S plus on all of the servers I do, because it's just makes life so much easier with the pull function. So from anywhere in the space, right, you can pull from anywhere else in the space. It's not the most ginormous space. If you're anywhere between solo and trios, this is going to be like the perfect base location for you. You're going to have enough resources all around you to really get built up pretty quick. You're in Genesis too, so getting tech is not going to be, or a little element to like power your tech and all that. It's going to be so super easy to do. Early game collection too, especially since you can like fisty punch everything, makes it really nice. So then back here, this is usually where I put like my breeding and my main crafting area. Right here, I got lucky. I would put my tech generator kind of back here, just to kind of help keep it protected and on the ground so it's not on a foundation. That's usually my stiff that I do, right? And there's a thick rock there, so no one's going to be able to kind of come back and just like mess with it or anything like that, mech swipe it through the wall or anything like that. And then I just kind of like place it there to hide it. I know it's not super hidden, but that's just kind of how I build. I'm not the guy who's like gonna build it to make it like the most aesthetically pleasing, right? I just like to put shit really close together that you need. If you need a bunch of crafting stuff, right, I'm just gonna find a way to kind of try to shove it all in there together. That way you just don't have to travel very far with it. I used to play a lot of small tribes, and I hated having to like toss everything down, whip it up, toss everything down, whip it up, tech leggings, all that stuff. It just gets really tedious and nonsensical after a certain point. So I just would rather not. So you know what? I just don't. So yeah, that's kind of like the basic build of it from there. There's nothing too fancy about it. I usually put a couple beds throughout here, as well as I usually do put a couple turrets kind of just back here in case they do get in. If they get in, you're kind of screwed as it is. But having internals never hurts. I'm not super familiar with the noggin yet. I haven't really played too much on hardcore PvP since Gen 2 came out, just mostly been making videos and working on my small business. But for this one, I do believe that like turrets can maybe affect noggins once they get onto your dino. So if you are having carbs back here or something, I think maybe having some turrets is always good to really get out of there, or to like pack up your stuff if you're that kind of player that's like worried about that type of thing. So yeah, that's just kind of a very basic guide. If you guys want a guide to any other like major spots, Gen 2 spots, alpha spots, anything like that, a little bit more extensive, this was kind of more of a quick guide, like how you should get into this and build it up like as fast as you can. Not really like trying to build it out as like the most alpha spot. But let me know if there's anything else you guys want in the comments down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.